The space around Earth suddenly filled with thousands of massive ships that appeared from nowhere, like ghosts becoming real. The alien fleet stretched across millions of miles with warships bigger than cities floating in the dark void between planets. Admiral Kex Thule stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet that hung in space ahead of his armada. His 6 eyes studied the primitive world through the viewing screens, while his clawed hands gripped the command chair. This would be another easy conquest for the mighty Zephyrian Empire. The alien admiral had destroyed 47 worlds before this one, and each time the pattern was the same. The primitive species would see his fleet and immediately surrender or try to fight with their weak weapons before being crushed like insects. Earth looked no different from all the others. His sensors showed no orbital defense platforms protecting the planet and no energy shields surrounding their world. The only things floating in space near Earth were small metal objects that looked like toys compared to his massive warships. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison sat in the underground command center at NORAD, staring at his computer screen in disbelief. The energy readings were off the charts as thousands of alien signatures appeared at the edge of their solar system. He had been monitoring space for enemy threats his entire career, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. His hand shook as he picked up the red phone that connected directly to the White House. The invasion that humanity had secretly prepared for during the past 50 years was finally happening. President Linda Hayes was in a cabinet meeting when her assistant burst through the doors with a look of terror on her face. The president could tell from the woman's expression that something terrible was about to happen. Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakerphone with news that would change everything for the human race. An alien fleet had appeared in their solar system, and it was bigger than anything they had ever imagined possible. Within minutes, the emergency bunker beneath the White House filled with the most important people in the government. Defense Secretary Carl Johnson arrived first, followed by General Patricia Stone, who commanded all of Earth's military forces. The president looked around the room at faces filled with fear and uncertainty. Most of these people had no idea what humanity had been building in secret for the past decades. General Stone activated the main viewing screen that showed a computer-generated image of the alien fleet. The ships were arranged in perfect formations that stretched from one side of the solar system to the other. Each vessel was the size of a small city and bristled with weapons that could destroy entire continents. The largest ship at the center of the formation was so massive it could block out the sun if it moved between Earth and their star. Admiral Kex Thule studied the readings from his science officers, who reported that Earth had a primitive civilization that had barely begun to explore space. Their largest ships were tiny metal cylinders that could barely reach their own moon. The planet showed signs of industry and cities, but nothing that could threaten his mighty armada. This conquest would be over before it even began. The alien commander ordered his fleet to move closer to Earth so the primitive inhabitants could see the full power of the Zephyrian Empire. His ships began their slow advance through the solar system like a pack of predators moving toward helpless prey. Every captain in his fleet knew their role in the upcoming invasion, and each one was eager to claim their share of the spoils from this new world. Dr. Richard Barnes had been waiting for this moment his entire life. The head of the classified Terra Defense Initiative finally had permission to reveal what human scientists had been building in secret facilities around the globe and throughout the solar system. He entered the emergency bunker carrying a briefcase filled with documents that would shock everyone in the room, including the president herself. The doctor placed his briefcase on the conference table and looked around at the faces of the most powerful people on Earth. What he was about to tell them would change their understanding of human capabilities forever. For 50 years, humanity had been pretending to be a primitive species while secretly developing the most advanced military technology the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Barnes opened his briefcase and pulled out photographs of massive space stations hidden on the dark side of the moon. He showed them images of weapons platforms disguised as asteroids floating throughout the solar system. Each picture revealed another piece of humanity's greatest deception. Earth was not the helpless world it appeared to be. The president stared at the photographs in amazement as Dr. Barnes explained how human scientists had been reverse engineering alien technology since a probe crashed in the Nevada desert decades ago. They had used that technology to build weapons and ships that far exceeded anything the attacking aliens possessed. Humanity had been playing the role of primitive savages while secretly becoming the most dangerous species in the galaxy. General Stone listened to the briefing with growing excitement as she realized that Earth was not defenseless against the alien invasion. Hidden throughout the solar system were weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets and stealth ships that were invisible to enemy sensors. The aliens had made a terrible mistake by choosing to attack humanity. Defense Secretary Johnson asked how long they had been building these secret weapons and why the government had been kept in the dark about the project. Dr. Barnes explained that only a small group of scientists and military officers knew the truth about Earth's real capabilities. The deception had to be complete, or the aliens would have detected their preparations. Admiral Kex Thule received reports from his scout ships as they moved closer to Earth. The planet's military forces appeared to be mobilizing, but their weapons were laughably primitive. The humans had nuclear missiles and chemical rockets that posed no threat to his advanced warships. His shields could deflect anything the primitives might throw at them. The alien admiral decided to give the humans a demonstration of his power before demanding their surrender. He ordered 3 of his smaller warships to destroy one of the metal space stations orbiting Earth. The weapons fired beams of pure energy that could melt mountains, but when the light faded, the space station was still intact. His science officers reported that some kind of unknown force field had protected the human structure. Dr. Barnes smiled as he watched the alien attack fail on the main viewing screen. The space station they had targeted was actually one of humanity's most advanced defensive platforms, disguised to look like a simple research facility. Its shields were powered by technology that the aliens had never encountered before. The president asked Dr. Barnes what their chances were against such a massive alien fleet. The doctor looked around the room at the worried faces of Earth's leaders and smiled. Humanity had been preparing for this day for 50 years, and the aliens had no idea what they were about to face. The primitive world they thought they were conquering was actually a trap that would destroy their entire armada. General Stone began issuing orders to activate Earth's hidden defenses as Admiral Kexathul prepared to deliver his surrender ultimatum to the human race. Neither side fully understood what was about to happen, but one thing was certain. This battle would determine the fate of both species and change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Kex Thule stood before the massive communication array on his flagship as his officers prepared to send the standard surrender demand to Earth. He had delivered this same message to 47 other species, and each time the result was immediate capitulation. The primitive inhabitants would see the size of his fleet and realize that resistance was hopeless. This blue world would be no different from all the others. The alien commander began recording his message with the confidence of someone who had never experienced defeat. His voice carried the authority of the Zephyrian Empire as he spoke the words that had brought entire civilizations to their knees. The humans would have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally or face the complete destruction of their world. Communications Director Amy Rodriguez was monitoring all incoming signals at the Pentagon when the alien transmission reached Earth. She had been expecting this moment ever since the massive fleet appeared at the edge of their solar system. Her hands remained steady as she recorded the alien ultimatum and immediately forwarded it to the emergency command bunker beneath the White House. President Hayes listened to the alien message with her cabinet members gathered around the conference table. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and filled with arrogance as it demanded humanity's immediate surrender. The alien commander spoke as if Earth's defeat was already certain and resistance would only result in unnecessary suffering. Amy Rodriguez responded to the alien transmission with a calmness that surprised everyone in the Pentagon Command Center. She informed Admiral Kex Thule that humanity required 12 hours to consider the terms of surrender and gather their planetary leaders for the formal ceremony. Her voice showed no fear as she requested the additional time to prepare for what the aliens assumed would be Earth's capitulation. Admiral Kex Thule was puzzled by the human response, but granted the 12-hour extension without concern. Every primitive species needed time to accept the reality of their situation, and he was confident that Earth's leaders were simply gathering to discuss the terms of their surrender. The extra time would allow his fleet to position themselves for maximum psychological impact. The alien commander ordered his massive warships into a standard intimidation formation that would be visible to anyone on Earth with a telescope. His largest dreadnoughts moved into positions where they would block out entire constellations and cast shadows across the planet's surface. The sight of such overwhelming firepower had broken the spirit of countless worlds before this one. Captain Steve Martinez had been waiting on Luna Base 7 for this moment his entire career. The hidden facility on the far side of the moon looked like a simple mining operation to any alien sensors, but it was actually humanity's most powerful weapons platform. As the alien fleet moved into their intimidation formation, they were unknowingly positioning themselves perfectly for what was about to happen. Martinez began the power-up sequence for the quantum artillery platforms that had been disguised as mining equipment for decades. The massive weapons drew energy from the moon's core itself and could accelerate projectiles to speeds that defied the laws of physics as most species understood them. Each shot would carry enough kinetic energy to shatter entire continents. Colonel Lisa Davis commanded the asteroid belt facility that monitored all traffic through the outer solar system. Her station appeared to be nothing more than a research outpost studying space rocks, but it was actually the command center for humanity's most devastating surprise. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt were ships that had been disguising themselves as cargo vessels for years. Davis began sending activation codes to the sleeper ships scattered across millions of miles of space. Each vessel contained enough firepower to level entire worlds, and their crews had been living in suspended animation while waiting for this day. The alien fleet had positioned themselves perfectly in the kill zone without realizing their mistake. Dr. Barnes continued his briefing in the White House bunker as Earth's hidden defenses came online across the solar system. He showed the president satellite images of weapons platforms that had been built inside hollow asteroids and disguised as natural space debris. The aliens had been scanning these objects for days without realizing they were actually looking at humanity's most advanced military technology. General Stone coordinated the activation of Earth's planetary defense network from her command center in the Pentagon. What appeared to be radio telescopes and communication satellites were actually components of a weapon system that could focus the power of the sun itself into concentrated beams of destruction. The aliens had been studying these installations and cataloging them as primitive scientific equipment. Admiral Kexathul received reports from his science officers confirming that Earth's technology was even more primitive than their initial scans had indicated. The humans appeared to be using chemical rockets and nuclear fission for power generation. Their largest weapons were crude missiles that could barely reach escape velocity. The conquest of this world would be embarrassingly easy. The alien admiral decided to use the 12-hour delay to position his fleet for maximum intimidation effect. He wanted the humans to see every ship in his armada and understand the futility of resistance. His dreadnoughts moved into low orbit around Earth, while his smaller vessels spread out to cover every possible escape route from the planet. Amy Rodriguez maintained her calm demeanor as she sent regular updates to the alien fleet about humanity's surrender preparations. She informed Admiral Kexathul that Earth's leaders were gathering from around the globe and needed time to translate the surrender documents into their various languages. Her performance was so convincing that the aliens never suspected they were being deceived. Captain Martinez watched the alien ships position themselves exactly where humanity's war planners had hoped they would. The massive vessels were now perfectly aligned for the quantum artillery platforms to achieve maximum destruction with minimum shots. Each projectile would pass through multiple enemy ships before its kinetic energy was finally dissipated. Colonel Davis observed the alien fleet through her sensors and smiled as she realized how perfectly they had fallen into humanity's trap. The ships were arranged in tight formations that would maximize the effectiveness of the sleeper ship attacks. When the time came, each hidden vessel would emerge from its disguise and unleash devastation on the unsuspecting aliens. President Hayes asked Dr. Barnes about the capabilities of their hidden weapons compared to what the aliens possessed. The scientist explained that humanity's technology was actually several generations ahead of anything the Zephyrian Empire had developed. The aliens were using energy weapons and particle shields, while humans had mastered exotic matter manipulation and gravitational control. General Stone reviewed the tactical situation with her staff as the countdown to humanity's response continued. Every weapons platform was fully charged and ready to fire. Every stealth ship was in position for the coordinated attack. Every crew member understood their role in what would become the most decisive battle in galactic history. Admiral Kexathul stood on his bridge watching Earth rotate slowly beneath his fleet. The small blue world looked so peaceful and helpless, surrounded by his massive warships. In a few hours, the humans would formally surrender, and another primitive species would join the Zephyrian Empire. He had no idea that he was looking at the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever produced. The 12-hour deadline approached as both sides made their final preparations. The aliens positioned their ships for the surrender ceremony, while humanity's hidden weapons locked onto their targets. Admiral Kexathul expected to receive Earth's capitulation, but instead he was about to witness the destruction of his entire armada. The greatest military deception in history was about to be revealed, and the balance of power in the galaxy would shift forever. The 12-hour deadline expired at exactly noon Earth time as Admiral Kexathul waited on his bridge for humanity's surrender message. His communications officer reported that Earth was transmitting something, but the signal was not the expected capitulation. Instead, Amy Rodriguez delivered a simple message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. She informed the alien fleet that humanity respectfully declined their offer and suggested the aliens leave Earth's solar system immediately. General Stone stood in the Pentagon Command Center with her finger hovering over the activation switch that would begin Operation Human Storm. Every weapons platform across the solar system was fully charged and ready to fire. Every stealth ship was in position for the coordinated attack. Every crew member was waiting for the order that would reveal humanity's true nature to the galaxy. Admiral Kexthul could not believe what he had just heard from the primitive planet below his fleet. No species had ever refused the Empire's surrender demand and survived to tell about it. His rage built as he realized these insignificant creatures were actually going to resist his mighty armada. He would make their destruction slow and painful. As an example to other worlds, General Stone gave the order that changed everything. Operation Human Storm was now active, and humanity's greatest deception was about to be revealed. Her voice carried across secure channels to every hidden facility and disguised weapons platform in the solar system. The time for pretending to be primitive had finally ended. Captain Martinez fired the opening shot from Luna Base 7 as the quantum artillery platform released its first projectile. The weapon accelerated a tungsten rod to 90% of light speed using technology that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. The relativistic kill vehicle crossed the distance between the moon and the alien fleet in seconds. The first hypervelocity projectile struck Admiral Kexthul's forward battle line before their sensors could even detect the incoming threat. The kinetic impact released more energy than an antimatter bomb as it passed completely through 3 heavy cruisers and severely damaged 2 more. The alien ships simply ceased to exist as their matter was converted to plasma by the incredible forces involved. Admiral Kexthul watched in horror as 12 of his most powerful warships were destroyed in the first seconds of what he had expected to be an easy battle. His science officers were screaming contradictory reports about impossible energy readings and weapons that should not exist. The primitive humans had somehow created technology that exceeded anything in the Empire's arsenal. Captain Martinez continued firing the quantum artillery as fast as the weapons could cycle. Each shot was precisely aimed to pass through multiple alien ships and maximize the destruction. The tungsten projectiles moved so fast that the aliens had no time to react or adjust their formations. Their shields were useless against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Commander Tony Garcia had been waiting in the stealth destroyer Shadow Strike for this moment since the alien fleet first appeared. His ship and 20 others like. It had been hiding in the shadows of asteroids using cloaking technology reverse-engineered from alien probes. The Zephyrian sensors could not detect them because humanity understood their technology better than they did. Garcia gave the order for his squadron to decloak and attack the alien fleet from behind. The stealth destroyers appeared like ghosts, materializing from empty space as their cloaking fields deactivated. Each ship was armed with weapons that the aliens had never encountered, and shields that could deflect their most powerful attacks. The Shadow Strike opened fire with plasma cannons that used magnetic fields to contain miniature stars. The superheated matter struck the alien ships with temperatures that exceeded the core of most suns. Admiral Kexthul's rear guard was completely unprepared for an attack from weapons they could not understand. Colonel Davis activated the sleeper. Ships hidden throughout the asteroid belt as the battle entered its second phase. Vessels that had been disguising themselves as cargo haulers and mining equipment suddenly revealed their true nature. Each ship contained crews that had been waiting in suspended animation for decades and weapons that could crack planets in half. The hidden fleet emerged from their camouflage like predators revealing themselves to cornered prey. Admiral Kex Thule found himself surrounded by enemies that had been invisible moments before. His mighty armada was trapped in a three-dimensional kill zone with human weapons firing from every direction. Captain Sandra Lee commanded the orbital platform Hammer of Sol that had been disguised as a space telescope for 30 years. Her facility contained humanity's most devastating weapon system based on technology that most species believed was impossible. The platform could create and launch artificial black holes at significant fractions of light speed. Lee activated the exotic matter generators that had been built using principles discovered in captured alien technology. The artificial black holes were each the size of atoms, but contained the mass of entire moons. When launched at near light speed, they became unstoppable weapons that could tear apart anything in their path. The first micro-black hole struck the center of Admiral Kexthule's formation and began consuming everything around it. The gravitational anomaly grew larger as it fed on the matter from destroyed alien ships. Entire squadrons were pulled into the artificial singularity and crushed beyond recognition. Admiral Kex Thule realized that his fleet was facing a military force unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. The humans were using weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe itself. His ships were designed to fight energy beams and particle weapons, but they had no defense against exotic matter attacks. Major Ryan Clark coordinated the three-dimensional assault from his command ship as human forces attacked from every possible angle. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies that seemed to appear from nowhere, using technology that defied their understanding of science. Clark's tactical display showed the systematic destruction of the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez activated the planet-based particle beam network from her facility in Nevada. The system used every radio telescope and satellite array on Earth to focus coherent energy beams that could slice through the hulls of alien dreadnoughts. What the aliens had cataloged as primitive scientific equipment was actually a planetary, scale weapon system. The concentrated beams struck Admiral Kexthule's flagship as he tried to coordinate his fleet's response to the impossible attack. His command ship's shields overloaded instantly as energy equivalent to the output of a small star focused on his vessel. The bridge crew was vaporized before they could even scream. Captain Garcia pressed his attack as the alien formation began to collapse under the sustained assault. His stealth ships moved through their ranks like wolves among sheep, while the quantum artillery continued to fire from the moon. Each shot eliminated multiple targets as the tungsten projectiles maintained their devastating speed. The Zephyrian fleet that had conquered 47 worlds found itself helpless against an enemy they had underestimated completely. Admiral Kexthule's perfect battle formation became a death trap as human weapons tore through their ranks from every direction. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were reduced to expanding clouds of plasma and debris. Colonel Davis watched the tactical display as her sleeper ships completed their emergence from the asteroid belt. Each vessel was now fully active and adding its firepower to the devastating assault on the alien invaders. The Zephyrians had walked into the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. The first phase of Operation Human Storm was complete, as humanity revealed the true extent of their technological advancement. Admiral Kexthule's mighty armada was already crippled beyond recovery, and the battle had barely begun. The aliens finally understood that they had not come to conquer a primitive world, but had instead encountered the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Kexathul struggled to maintain control of his flagship as human weapons continued to tear through his fleet with devastating precision. What he had expected to be a simple conquest had become the worst military disaster in Zephyrian history. His once mighty armada was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to possess technology from the gods themselves. Captain Sandra Lee prepared to unleash humanity's most terrifying weapon as the battle entered its most destructive phase. The Hammer of Saul platform had been charging its exotic matter generators for the past 30 minutes and was now ready to deploy weapons that could reshape reality itself. The artificial black holes she was about to create would demonstrate why attacking Earth was the greatest mistake the aliens could have made. The orbital platform released a barrage of micro-singularities that streaked toward the alien fleet at incredible speed. Each artificial black hole was no larger than a grain of sand, but contained enough gravitational force to crush entire star systems. Admiral Kexthul watched in horror as the laws of physics themselves seemed to turn against his ships. The first black hole struck the heavy cruiser Domination and began consuming it from the inside out. The massive warship was pulled into the singularity atom by atom as its crew screamed in terror. Within seconds, the vessel that had destroyed entire worlds was reduced to nothing more than energy feeding the artificial gravity well. Major Ryan. Clark coordinated the three-dimensional attack as human forces revealed the true extent of their preparation. Ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system like predators that had been waiting decades for this moment. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies using weapons that defied everything they thought they knew about warfare. Admiral Kexthul tried to order his fleet to retreat, but the human forces had anticipated this response. Captain Martinez continued firing the quantum artillery from Luna Base 7 while targeting the alien engines specifically. The relativistic projectiles disabled ship after ship before they could build up enough speed to escape the solar system. Commander Garcia led his stealth squadron in a devastating attack on the alien command structure. The Shadow Strike and her sister ships moved through the enemy formation like ghosts, while their plasma cannons vaporized everything they touched. The aliens could not target what they could not see, and their return fire struck empty space. Colonel Davis activated the final phase of the sleeper ship assault as vessels throughout the asteroid belt revealed their true nature. What the aliens had thought were harmless cargo ships suddenly bristled with weapons that could crack moons in half. Each hidden vessel added its firepower to the systematic destruction of the Zephyrian Armada. Dr. Rodriguez increased the power output of the planetary beam network as every radio telescope on Earth focused its energy on the alien fleet. The concentrated beams could slice through the hulls of dreadnoughts like laser cutters through paper. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were reduced to glowing debris in seconds. The artificial black holes continued their rampage through Admiral Kexthul's formation as they consumed everything in their path. The gravitational anomalies grew larger with each ship they devoured and began affecting the orbits of nearby vessels. Entire squadrons were pulled into the singularities and crushed beyond recognition. Captain Lee prepared to deploy her most devastating weapon as the battle reached its climax. The Hammer of Soul contained a device that could create temporary wormholes connected to the heart of distant stars. The portal weapons would bring the nuclear fire of alien suns directly into the middle of the enemy fleet. The wormhole generators activated as tiers in space itself opened around the Zephyrian ships. Streams of plasma, hotter than anything that existed in nature, poured through the portals and engulfed entire sections of the alien formation. Admiral Kex-Thul realized that the humans were using the stars themselves as weapons. Major Clark watched the tactical display as the alien fleet disintegrated under the sustained assault. What had been the most powerful military force in the galaxy was now nothing more than expanding clouds of superheated gas and twisted metal. The Zephyrians were learning why humanity had been left alone by every other species in this region of space. Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated with observatories around the globe as the particle beam network reached maximum power. The combined output of every telescope and satellite array on Earth created energy beams that could be seen from neighboring star systems. The aliens were being destroyed by weapons they had mistaken for primitive scientific equipment. Admiral Kex-Thul's flagship shuddered as another micro-black hole passed dangerously close to his position. His engineering crew reported that the ship's structure was being warped by gravitational forces that exceeded anything in their experience. The humans were not just winning the battle, but demonstrating mastery over the fundamental forces of the universe. Captain Martinez adjusted his targeting as the quantum artillery platform prepared to fire its most powerful shot. The next tungsten projectile would be accelerated to 95% of light speed and aimed directly at the alien command ship. The kinetic impact would release enough energy to vaporize everything within 1,000 kilometers. Commander Garcia received new orders as his stealth squadron prepared for the final phase of the attack. The human forces were now hunting down individual alien ships as they tried desperately to escape the kill zone. Each vessel that attempted to flee was systematically destroyed before it could reach the edge of the solar system. The artificial black holes had grown to massive size as they continued feeding on the remains of the alien fleet. Colonel Davis monitored their expansion carefully to ensure they would not pose a threat to Earth itself. The singularities would eventually evaporate through Hawking radiation, but not before consuming every trace of the Zephyrian Armada. Captain Lee activated the portal weapons for a final devastating barrage as streams of stellar plasma engulfed the last organized formations of alien ships. The nuclear fire from distant stars turned the space around Earth into a furnace that nothing could survive. Admiral Kex-Thul watched his empire's greatest fleet reduced to elementary particles. Major Clark coordinated the pursuit of fleeing alien vessels as human ships emerged from every hiding place in the solar system. The hunters had become the hunted as Earth's defenders systematically eliminated every enemy ship that tried to escape. The message had to be clear that attacking humanity was not just futile, but suicidal. Dr. Rodriguez increased the beam intensity one final time as the planetary weapon network delivered its killing blow. The concentrated energy from Earth's surface struck the alien flagship with the force of a supernova. Admiral Kex-Thul had time for one last transmission before his ship and crew were vaporized completely. The Battle of Earth was over in less than 4 hours as the mighty Zephyrian fleet was reduced to scattered atoms and fading energy signatures. Humanity had revealed its true nature to the galaxy and demonstrated why their world should never have been attacked. The primitive species the aliens thought they were conquering had instead become their executioners. Captain Martinez powered down the quantum artillery as the last alien ship was destroyed. The moon-based weapons had performed flawlessly and proven that humanity's secret preparations had been worth the decades of deception. Earth was safe, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not the helpless primitives they appeared to be. The space around Earth was now filled with the expanding debris of what had once been the most feared military force in the galaxy. Admiral Kex-Thul and his 3,000 ships had been completely obliterated by an enemy they had underestimated. The age of Zephyrian dominance was over, and humanity's time had begun. The silence that followed the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet was more terrifying than any battle cry. Where 3,000 alien warships had threatened Earth just hours before, now only expanding clouds of plasma and twisted metal remained. Admiral Kexthul and his mighty armada had been completely obliterated by an enemy they had fatally underestimated. A few alien ships had managed to escape the carnage by hiding behind the wreckage of their own fleet. Captain Gary Thompson received orders to hunt down these survivors aboard the newly revealed destroyer UES Retribution. The message had to be absolutely clear that attacking humanity was not just futile, but represented a death sentence for any species foolish enough to try. Thompson's ship emerged from its hiding place inside a hollowed-out asteroid and began pursuing the fleeing Zephyrian vessels. The Retribution was faster than anything the aliens possessed and armed with weapons that could track targets across multiple star systems. Each escaped ship was located and destroyed within minutes of beginning its flight. President Hayes stood in the Pentagon Command Center surrounded by her cabinet as reports of total victory came in from across the solar system. Not a single alien ship remained intact and human casualties were exactly zero. The greatest military deception in galactic history had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. Dr. Barnes began the process of revealing humanity's true nature to the rest of the galaxy. The secret facilities and hidden weapons platforms that had been concealed for decades were now broadcasting their existence to every species within 100 light years. The primitive world that had seemed so helpless was actually the most advanced military power anyone had ever encountered. Communications Director Amy Rodriguez prepared the message that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Working with Ambassador Helen Wright, they crafted words that would make every alien civilization reconsider their assumptions about Earth and its inhabitants. The transmission would be sent to every known species and serve as both warning and promise. The message began broadcasting from the most powerful transmitters on Earth as Ambassador Wright delivered humanity's first official communication to the galaxy. Her voice carried the authority of a species that had just demonstrated their military supremacy in the most decisive way possible. Earth was no longer hiding its capabilities from the universe. Ambassador Wright's words were simple, but carried implications that would reshape galactic politics forever. Earth was under human protection, and any species considering aggression against their world should study the fate of the Zephyrian Third Imperial Fleet. Humanity was not the primitive civilization that others had believed them to be. The message continued with a detailed explanation of what had really happened during the battle. Every weapon system that had been used against the aliens was described in technical detail so that other species would understand the futility of attacking Earth. The quantum artillery and artificial black holes were just the beginning of humanity's arsenal. Captain Thompson completed his mission as the last fleeing alien ship was reduced to subatomic particles by the Retribution's exotic matter weapons. Every witness to humanity's military capabilities had been eliminated except for the sensor records that would eventually reach the Zephyrian Empire. The survivors would carry tales of human superiority back to their masters. General Stone coordinated the stand-down of Earth's defensive systems as the immediate threat ended. The weapons platforms would remain active and ready, but their targeting systems were no longer locked onto enemy vessels. Humanity had won the most important battle in their history without losing a single ship or crew member. Dr. Barnes revealed the final truth about human civilization as he briefed the world's media on what had really been happening for the past 50 years. Earth had been a spacefaring species with advanced technology since the crash of an alien probe in Nevada decades ago. Everything the galaxy thought they knew about humanity was completely wrong. The crashed probe had contained information about dozens of alien species and their technological capabilities. Human scientists had spent decades studying these records and developing countermeasures for every known weapon system in the galaxy. They had also improved upon alien technology to create weapons that exceeded anything their enemies possessed. Colonel Davis supervised the emergence of Earth's hidden fleet from concealment throughout the solar system. Hundreds of ships that had been disguising themselves as asteroids and space debris now revealed their true nature. The human navy was larger and more advanced than any force the galaxy had ever seen. The revelation that Earth possessed such massive military capabilities sent shockwaves through every alien civilization within communications range. Species that had been planning their own invasions of the primitive world immediately canceled those operations. Humanity had become the most feared military power in known space. Captain Martinez began powering down the Luna Base 7 weapons platform as emergency protocols were implemented. The quantum artillery would remain ready for immediate activation, but its targeting systems were switched to passive scanning mode. The moon base would continue monitoring for new threats while maintaining its disguise as a mining operation. Ambassador Wright continued her broadcast to the galaxy as she explained humanity's peaceful intentions toward species that posed no threat to Earth. The devastating military demonstration had been necessary to establish their position, but humans preferred trade and diplomacy to warfare. Any civilization that approached Earth with peaceful intent would find humanity to be valuable allies. The message also contained an offer that stunned every species that received it. Earth was willing to share certain technologies with alien civilizations that proved their commitment to peace and mutual cooperation. Humanity's advanced weapons would remain secret, but other innovations could benefit the entire galaxy. Captain Thompson received new orders as his ship began patrolling the outer edges of the solar system. The Retribution and other vessels like it would serve as early warning systems against future threats. Any alien fleet that approached Earth with hostile intent would face the same fate as Admiral Kexthul's Armada. President Hayes addressed the people of Earth in a historic broadcast that revealed the truth about their world's place in the galaxy. For 50 years, humanity had been living a lie while their greatest scientists and military leaders prepared for this day. The deception was now over, and Earth could take its rightful place among the stars. Dr. Elena Rodriguez supervised the conversion of the planetary beam network back to its apparent function as radio telescopes and communication satellites. The weapon system would remain ready for immediate activation, but would resume its disguise as scientific equipment. Other species would continue to underestimate Earth's defensive capabilities. The scattered remains of the Zephyrian fleet continued, expanding through space as a monument to the folly of attacking humanity. Some of the debris would eventually reach other star systems carrying molecular evidence of Earth's military superiority. The wreckage would serve as a warning to any species that discovered it. Reports began reaching the Zephyrian Empire from the few automated probes that had witnessed the battle from extreme range. The transmission spoke of weapons that bent reality itself and humans who fought like demons from their darkest legends. The Imperial High Command immediately declared, "Earth a forbidden zone." Ambassador Wright concluded her message to the galaxy with a promise that would echo through space for generations. Humanity would defend itself against any aggression with overwhelming force, but would also extend friendship to those who approached them in peace. The choice of war or cooperation belonged to each individual species. Other alien civilizations, quietly removed Earth from their lists of potential conquest targets as reports of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The phrase, "they are only human," took on an entirely different meaning as species across the stars learned what humanity was truly capable of when threatened. The Battle of Earth marked the end of one age and the beginning of another, as humanity stepped out of the shadows to claim their place among the stars. No longer would they need to hide their true capabilities or pretend to be primitive. The galaxy had seen their power and would never again make the mistake of underestimating the human race.